with us here this afternoon on a busy program. Let's talk to Derek in Chicago, Mad Dog Unleashed. Derek, good afternoon. How are you today? What do you have?
Good, Doug. Thanks for taking my call. As a Patriot fan, I obviously wanted to play the Steelers, but I'll get a good chuckle out of their humiliation. A couple points on Tomlin. One, the Steelers were kind of playing this football all along near the end of the season where they would get down to teams no matter how good the offense was or not, and they never corrected that. Couple that with
one correction. Christmas Day, they did play very well in Houston. Be fair. Christmas Day. Go ahead.
Overall, that was the trend, though, and there was an aberration in Houston. But at the same time, you're playing a team without Deshaun Watson, so I don't think that was any.
Yeah, I know, but remember, they didn't play well against a lot of bad teams for a good part of the year. They played the Packers without Rodgers. They played the Bears with Mike Glennon. I mean, they played a lot of these teams, although Trubisky may have played that Bear game. But you get the idea. You know, that looked like they were going to change the storyline by their performance. But you're right, they underachieved on a week-to-week basis as far as their quality of play is concerned. Go ahead. Let me hear.
Their other problem is that their stories were always off the field. They had the Villanueva thing with the anthem. They all jumped on to bag on Harrison when he left the team. Bell's tweeting stupid things on a regular basis, even talking about retiring on a playoff week. The stories for Tomlin, even coming out of his own mouth and by other leaders on the team, were always negative and never on football.
Listen, there are always sideshows with Pittsburgh. They do have those, Bell and Brown are those kind of personalities. Patriots don't have that issue for whatever the reason. And they've had big star, Randy Moss. They've had big stars there. He runs a very, very tight ship. You don't do it. You do it his way, you get out. Simple. And Brady buys in, which makes it very, very difficult to disobey what Belichick wants to do. So I understand where you're coming from. Pittsburgh, it looks worse for Pittsburgh right now, this loss, because the way they acted, A, underachieved at times during the regular season, and B, the way they discussed this and acted in the week or two prior to this game. So it looks a lot worse. They would have won this game this week, we wouldn't have said a word. But because they lost and were disinterested early in the game and looked uninvolved and flat, they looked like they were ill-prepared. And as a result, the coach is going to get pounded, and that's why minority owners are discussing this or thinking or discussing it with the ownership. But remember, the Rooney's aren't going to do anything. But I would say this, uncharacteristic for them, I would say that Tomlin's on notice. I would say that. Next year, he better make a deep run. That's what I would say. Yeah, that's me talking. I don't know this. I'm just saying that if I'm a Pittsburgh part of that ownership group, I'm concerned, and I want a button down, no messing around. I'll take care of the contract with Bell, and if I don't, you tell him to calm down. Next year is a very, very big year with Tomlin. Now, if he goes 8-8 next year, he might be out. Or if they have a bad postseason loss next year, they might be out. Rich in Florida, and he's aboard. He's on Mad Dog Unleashed. Boy, Pittsburgh is a big theme here today. People are down on him. Richard, take it away. What do you have for me? What do you have? What's on your mind?
What I have for you is this. Unfortunately, from a stats point of view, he looks pretty good because he tied Joe Gibbs in 11 seasons for the second most wins. But on the bulk of his work, it's always a bridesmaid, never the bride. And that's because of the way that he conducts not only himself, but his locker room as well, by allowing his team to get away with stuff like that. Not only is it his fault, but then again, I'm also going to say part of the onus should be brought up upon the general manager for allowing this stuff to go ahead and happen in the locker room himself. Head coaches in the NFL, sorry to say, with the exception of...
I don't even know who the Pittsburgh general manager is. Who is it?
I'm not a Pittsburgh fan, and I'm the first to admit it.
Most general managers who are in the sport. Pittsburgh, I don't even know how they run. I don't know if I even know who the GM is. Oh, Kevin Colbert's their GM. The guy I'm very, very vague about. So, I mean, Pittsburgh, he does it quietly and everything else. They got a pro player personnel director. I mean, Pittsburgh does it from a standpoint of organization. Colbert is not going to go out and speak up. Hey, Jerry Reese never did. He's going to let his coach handle the team. And Tomlin, for whatever the reason, runs a very loose ship. And in this particular case, I think it got in the way. Scott in Tampa, Mad Dog Unleashed. Scotty, good afternoon. How are you today?
Hey, Doggy. How are you? Thanks. real quick on the last call, but I want to talk about the assistant coach thing. The locker room is the domain of the head coach, always was, always will be. GMs will not stick their nose in the way a head coach runs his locker room. He's there to help him put the team together, but the day-to-day running of that locker room is strictly on the head coach.
100% right. Go ahead.
Here's the thing on the assistant coaches, because this is where I want to disagree with you a little bit. Now, again, I don't know Matt Nagy from Charles Nagy, but here's what I would say, Chris. Nobody knows, because did anybody really think this year that Doug Marrone, Sean McVay, and Sean McDermott were going to get their teams in the playoffs? No. And if you look at Bill Belichick's tree, McDaniels the first time around was a disaster. Romeo Crennel was no great shakes, and Charlie Weiss was a mess. So you have no idea who these coordinators are and if they're going to be good head coaches or not. It's strictly a guessing game. That's all it is.
So what's your point there? Fire Tomlin and bring a guy in there and hope for the best?
No, my point was you said, who's Matt Nagy to be this hot commodity? Who was John Harbaugh? He was a special teams coordinator. Nobody thought he'd be this good of a head coach. Nobody knew it.
I'm not sure how good a head coach he is. 3 years in a row of lousy football. Let's take him out of the Hall of Fame, too.
Before these 3 years, Chris, before these 3 years, he had a Super Bowl. He had as much success other than Tom Coughlin against Bill Belichick than anybody. And let's be honest, Bill Belichick coming into New England, nobody knew Belichick was going to be that. In Cleveland, he was a mess. And as the last caller said, they lucked into Tom Brady.
So your point is hiring a head coach is a complete crapshoot.
When you're going with these coordinators, it is, because just as many of them bust and that are successful. So you don't know whether or not Matt Nagy is going to be the next Sean McVay. Look what Sean McVay did this year with the Rams.
Well, I mean, McVay's a quarterback whisperer, and you knew the Rams had to get Goff on track, and so that was not a ton of pressure.
And Nagy might do the same thing for Trubisky. You don't know that yet.
Did Nagy make Alex Smith into a great player that I missed?
I don't know, Chris. Alex Smith, wasn't he the top-rated quarterback? He threw two.
Well, hold on now. No, he's not a great quarterback. Did McVay?
No, he's not a great quarterback.
And how did McVay do with Cousins? He made him pretty good, did he not?
Yeah, again, you think Cousins is,
well, I don't think he's great, but I think
he's way overrated.
Listen, I don't think he's great, but I mean, McVay took a guy there. I think Cousins is better than Alex Smith. I'll tell you that right now. I think he's better than Alex Smith.
I mean, again, I want to see Kirk Cousins do something in a big game. At least I know Alex Smith, in a shootout with a Hall of Famer like Drew Brees, won a game. Kirk Cousins in big games has fallen on his face.
Listen, he had a couple of bad ones. Nobody's going to argue that. No, I mean, Alex Smith didn't do much in the second half against Tennessee. I mean, I think we saw that. I mean, he couldn't.
He did
he
not.
had 55.
Again,
he did 50.
I'm not saying Matt Nagy, and I'm not saying Matt Nagy is going to be the next Bill Walsh. My only point is to say he's not going to be. You don't know. There's no way to know.
You're right.
Impossible.
No way. It's throwing darts against a dartboard. That I agree with you on. It's very tricky to figure out who's going to do a good job. JC in Long Island, New York. Mad Dog Unleashed. JC, good afternoon. How are you today?
Hey, Dog. Listen, I got to talk to you about this Pittsburgh game. I don't know if anybody brought this up. Rosenberg, a 40-yard line or 38-yard line twice. Once. Not once did they try a quarterback sneak. Once he handed off the ball, I think to Bell.
Yeah, we discussed this. Now remember this.
All right.
On the second 4th and 1, JC, that was a penalty. It should have been a first down.
I don't understand what the hell. Who called these plays? The second play was a stupid pass up the middle.
Yeah, but it was a penalty. It should have been a first down. He was held. The receiver.
I know. Two quickies, and I'll let you go. When McCovey lined out to Richardson in 1962, I'm a Giant fan. Was it the first pitch or the second pitch? I had an argument with my friend. Do you remember?
I do not. I know. Okay. I know. Mays was at third base. Right.
It was second and third. Davenport got a double down a right field line.
That's right. Mays is at second. No. Mays got the double.
Right. And Davenport, right.
Yeah,
right.
So second and third, and McCovey hit the line drive. Go ahead.
All right. You don't know. The next one is this. Do you know anybody that ever got up to bat against Babe Ruth I'm dying to find out what kind of a pitcher this guy. Of all the years you've been doing this show, have you ever interviewed anybody?
Babe Ruth stopped pitching in JC. How old do you think I am, for crying out loud? He stopped pitching in 1919, and that's a long time. No, I do not. I did not have any. I started in 1989. So when I started, at least in New York, when I started doing talk radio in New York City, that is 70 years after Babe stopped pitching. So who do you think I was going to talk to? We continue right in front of the hour here on Mad Dog Unleashed.